Now this isn't quite at the level of a proper basic to-do app yet because there's no way to cross things off the list. How do we do that? Well, again, let's think about what we need to keep track of in this state. We need to keep track of whether an item is done or not, so let's have that as a separate list. Done is also an array. And when we add an item, we want to make sure to add that it is not done. So we add a false, and otherwise we take the rest of the state done list of items. So this time, every time we add a new item, we're also adding the fact that it is not done. Okay, let's render this. So the list item is going to be a bit more than just text. We're also going to have a checkbox. Type checkbox. Checked, well, let's add that comma there. Checked is the state, done, and the index. Oh, but we don't have the index. That's no problem. Map function gives you the index of the item as the second argument. So there we have it. Now, foo bar baz. But now checking these things doesn't actually change anything about the state. So let's add an action as well to remember the state. On input toggle done. And what we want to do is we want to say the done list that we are going to change is the same as a copy of the current done list. But we're going to say that done index is equal to the opposite of what it was before. And then we'll return the state with the new done list. Except, of course, we don't know the index. We need to get that as a payload. So how do we get a payload with the index? Well, it turns out the event object is just the default if you don't specify anything. We can specify the index as the payload we want, and that means that the value is now going to be checked. So foo bar baz. Check those two and add another one. And it's sort of keeping the correct done state connected with the right items, but still we should be able to see that the checked off items are done. So let's add a span to our import, and let's span the item text and add a class. And let's make the done class light gray and have a line through. Just as a simple demo. Okay, but now they all get it. We need to make sure that it has the class when it is done and it doesn't when it isn't. If you used a library called class names before, if you've used React, then you know how this works. Hyperapp basically has that feature built in. So instead of saying the class is a string, I could say it's an object with the key done. And if the value is true, then that done class will be added, and if it's false, it will not. So we'll just put state done index there, and let's try it now. Foo bar baz. There we go. Now it's starting to look like something. Now to really top it off, let's add some nice CSS to make it look like a proper app. I've prepared some CSS that you could use, or you could use your own. it requires some structure to the view that I'm going to add now. We're going to have a header, we're going to have section, and an H1. So main is going to have a header with an H1 with text to do app. And then there's going to be a main for the rest of the application. And there's going to be a section of the class new item entry. And that's where the input and button will go. And there's going to be a section called item list, where this list will go. There we go. And now I'm going to bring in the CSS that I've made up before. Nice. Okay. And you could use my CSS, I'll link to it, or you could just use your own. It's up to you. Let's try this out. Buy milk. Buy eggs. Starting to look like a proper to-do app.